What's up, everybody? This is Mario, and I'm back with another episode of Endurify. And right now, I'm in the middle of a different kind of endurance challenge that I wanted to start off this episode with. And I just wanted to share that I'm in the middle of a 6.5 hour drive with Ellie, who is now 10 months, and with Wally, our three-year-old Bernie Doodle. And I'm doing it solo, so Emily is out of town. She went to visit some friends, and I'm transitioning from our place that we've been working remotely from in Florida to our next place that we're going to be for the next month in Hilton Head, South Carolina. Now, I've never been to South Carolina, never really spent an extended amount of time in South Carolina or Georgia, but we're kind of moving there and going to be experiencing what life has to bring there. And when I told my parents I was doing this, 7 hour, 6.5 hour drive by myself with the baby, with the dog, and with all the stuff, they thought I was nuts. But I was looking forward to it, like this is something new. This is a new adventure. It's a new experience. And it's definitely been interesting so far. Ellie has been doing pretty good. I would say every about 2 hours we've been taking breaks. But right now she's in the back seat. We're chilling at the Georgia Visitor Center, taking a quick little break, and then we're going to get back on the road. And so I'm in the middle of an endurance challenge, 7 hours in a car by yourself with a baby, with a dog. Let's see if she can stay quiet throughout this whole episode. But what I've been talking about lately on the podcast is the different types of things that you want to think about as you're incorporating an Ironman training program. We've talked about the essential workouts. We've talked about a weekly cycle. We've talked about a long-term cycle with the base, the build, and the peak phase. And typically with an Ironman, I would recommend a 30-week training plan. And so what that means is if you're in the base or the build or the peak training phase, those are each 10 weeks long. And I'm going through Be Iron Fit, which is the book that I used to train for my first Ironman. Going back, I'm rereading it. And there's another kind of take action challenge, which Don Fink calls Mark Your Calendar. And this is where we've talked about the different phases in the base, the build, and the peak last episode. And today what I want you to do is for your upcoming race, let's say it's an Ironman, a half Ironman, a 5K, a 10K, mark your calendar for the base, the build, and the peak. And so what that means is, from the book, he says, select an Ironman race you think you may be interested in signing up for. Mark the race on your calendar right now, then working backwards, fill in all of the above dates. The date the 10-week base phase begins, the date the 10-week build phase begins, and the date that the 10-week peak phase begins. And it's okay to think about these different phases like in the abstract, but when you actually mark your calendar and you write down the date that you are going to do this race, and you work backwards from that, and you write down the actual date where the base phase starts, the build phase starts, and the peak phase starts, that's where things start to become more real. And that's when you move from, oh, this is an idea, this is something that I might do, to this is something that's actually scheduled on my calendar, and this is something that I'm actually going to do. And it's really helpful for you to see the actual months of the year and the week when each phase is going to fall into, all the way up to race day. And there's Ellie. She's making a little noise. So really what I want you to do is I want you to do that right now. Work backwards from your race day. When is that? Work 10 weeks back from that. That's when your peak phase is going to begin. Then 10 weeks prior to that, that's when your build phase is going to begin. And then 10 weeks prior to that, that's when your base phase is going to begin. So in the training plan that I created for one of my clients, he's got the Ironman Wisconsin on September 13th. So what that means is the base phase that started on February 8th to February 14th. That's when we're starting that high volume, low intensity base phase, building that aerobic base. And then from there, the build phase starts 10 weeks after that, and that starts on April 19th to April 25th. And then after 10 weeks of that build phase, that's when in week 21, the peak phase, that happens in June 28th to July 4th. So you can see that once you actually incorporate those weeks, then you can you can start to attack it, and it starts to become very real. So that's where today, that's what I want to leave you with. And this is the take action and mark your calendar challenge. This is where you want to write down what date is your race. There you go. Ellie's cheering you on. She's saying do it too. And you need to incorporate this into your training. So that's what I have for you today. I hope that served you, and I hope you all have an amazing day.